Good day, everyone. Today we will represent in this presentation a journey to CTD NeeS and eCTD submissions. We will start with an introduction to rule of regulatory affairs and responsibility of regulatory affairs. Regulatory affairs is the link between pharma companies and governmental authorities in order to grant marketing authorization licenses of the product and register the manufacturing sites and obtain the GMP certificates from the health authorities. We will see in this slide the responsibility of regulatory affairs. All medicines must grant marketing authorization in order to be distributed in the market of the country by a legal process. The purpose of marketing authorization is to ensure that the product is safe, effective, and with high quality and can protect the public health. Regulatory affairs is responsible to revise and to compile and submit the total registration file of the drug product and manufacturing site if required to the health authorities in order to grant the marketing authorization license and GMP certificate. In the following slide, we will see the general description of regulatory process. Health authorities regulate many activities. In order to market our product, we shall submit our documentation to the health authority in order to be evaluated from the several points like the quality point and safety and efficacy of the drug product, and to ensure that the submitted documentation and the submitted information are complying to the standards of the GMP and standard regulations of the health authority related to the manufacturing site production of the product. As well, health authorities perform the inspection of the components of the drug product manufacturing sites and the laboratories involved in the production process, and all the centers involved in performing all the required studies for the products, for the bioequivalence and the bioavailability of the product as well. The health authorities perform the maintenance of registered products and post-marketing surveillance activities, including sampling of the registered medicines for quality control and for process validations and pharmacovigilance activities. As well, the health authorities regulate the promotion and advertisement and the marketing of the product information in order to be confirmed from their side. And the health authorities regulate all the price control for the pharmaceutical and the medicinal products in order to be registered and keep the final approved price at their database in order to control it in the market. So that means the regulatory affairs department will submit and publish the dossier to the health authority. And in the figure, we will see the process of the submission till we grant the marketing authorization. The first step, the regulatory affairs submit and publish the dossier. Then the health authority will start the technical validation, and the next step will be the business validation of the submitted dossier. And the health authority may be decide to inspect the manufacturing site in order to confirm that the production process according to the GMP standard. And the next step is to start the evaluation of the pricing of the drug product. And the last step will be licensing the product and grant the marketing authorization license in order to be marketed in the market with a legal process. This model is not unified. It may be changed from health authority to another, as it depends on the process and the regulations of each health authority. In the following slides, we will see the history of CTD and the definitions of CTD NeeS and eCTD and what is the difference between these three types of submissions, and we will see the CTD Triangle. So let's start with the CTD history. CTD is a joint effort of three regulatory agencies: European Medicine Agency (EMA), and Food and Drug Administration (US FDA), and Ministry of Health of Japan. Later on, the ICH, International Council on Harmonization, tried to communicate between the three agencies, and they draft the final CTD guidance from their side, which was published by the ICH in order to manage the agencies, and they draft the final CTD guidance from their side, which was published by the ICH in order to manage the registration process of the medicinal products. We will see in this slide what is the definition of CTD. CTD is the abbreviation of Common Technical Document, and according to ICH, it is defined as a harmonized format for submission of detailed information on medicines to regulatory authorities for the purposes of obtaining approval to market a product. As we already said, that in order to market the product, we need to grant a marketing authorization, and in order to grant this marketing authorization, we have to submit a regulatory documentation, and this documentation is harmonized for global submissions as to be submitted for the health authorities and to be evaluated and grant the final marketing authorization. NeeS is the abbreviation of non-eCTD electronic submissions. It is based on electronic table of contents, bookmarks, and hypertext links, and the eCTD folder structure is used in NeeS. eCTD is the abbreviation of Electronic Common Technical Document, and it is the electronic version of CTD. So we will see in this slide what is the difference between these submission forms. For CTD, we submit a hard copy of the dossier. We submit it as a paper documentation. We don't use a specific program for compiling the dossier. We only print our dossier as to be submitted as a hard copy. We use some separators in order to differentiate between the submitted modules and submitted sections. While for NeeS, we submit an electronic submission by submitting a CD, including PDF documents, and these PDF documents include a specific hyperlink in order to navigate between modules and between several sections. And for the eCTD, we submit an electronic submission, but we need a specific software. This software will create the XML backbone and will facilitate the process of submission of our compiled dossier to the health authority, and our submission will include hyperlinks, bookmarks, and XML file in order to navigate between several modules and between several sections. According to ICH, the CTD Triangle is represented in this figure. As we can see that CTD is organized into 5 modules. Module 1, which is represented by a red color, is a specific regional documentation. So that means it isn't part of the CTD, as it will differ from health authority to another. It will include some specific regional administrative information according to the format and the requirements of each health authority. Module 3 is the quality module, and Module 4 is the non-clinical information, and Module 5 includes the clinical study data. Module 2 is a summary and overview for Module 3 and 4 and 5, and it includes the quality overall summary, and the non-clinical overview and non-clinical summary, and clinical overview and the clinical summary. And starting from Module 2 to Module 5, it is a common documentation to be represented in the same format and the same contents for all the regions. So what is the advantages of CTD NeeS and eCTD? From the quality point of view, it will represent a better quality of the product. We will cover all the entire life cycle of the product through the submitted documentation, and it will facilitate the rapid call of the information, and it will be easy for the health authority and for the company to reach out all the information. Regarding the cost, the CTD NeeS and eCTD will reduce the paper and transportation cost, and will reduce the storage and archive requirements. As well, it will be an easy and faster communication in order to reach the registration process cycle, and it will be an efficient tool to review and to register the product quickly. So that means CTD helps the pharmaceutical company to file the dossier in many countries simultaneously, which can save time and money. In the following slide, we will see the flowchart of drug product registration cycle. In the beginning, we submit our application to the health authority. The health authority will validate the submitted documentation and the submitted application, and we will get a notification from the health authority that they accepted our application in order to be revised from their side, and then our product will be queued for revision. And the next step is starting the process of the scientific revision of the submitted documentation. And in this step, the health authority will start reviewing the quality documentation of Module 3 and the documentation of Module 2.3, and start to revise all the safety documentation and efficacy documentation included in Module 4 and Module 5. And the report of the quality and safety and efficacy information will be delivered to the registration department in a parallel revision process. At the same time, our product will be analyzed through submitting samples for analyzing our product, and the result of analysis will be submitted to the QC laboratory at the health authority. After that, if there is any raised inquiries from the health authority, we will receive these inquiries as a pharmaceutical company, and then the role of our company will start by replying to these all raised questions and inquiries. Once we will satisfy all the raised inquiries by the health authority, we will move to the next step, which is the pricing evaluation. And once we will finalize this step, the final decision whether to register our product and to grant a marketing authorization approval or our submitted application will be rejected and we will not be able to grant the marketing authorization. So this is the simple flowchart of drug registration cycle. In the following slides, we will see what is the status of global implementation of submission forms. At the beginning in 2003 November, the regional harmonization initiatives invited to ICH 6 in Osaka to discuss their participation in the global cooperation group. Nowadays, for the Asian Association of Southeast Asian Nations, they started the implementation and started to communicate for the registration process and to submit the CTD and the NeeS and eCTD, and it is different from health authority to another. As well, for the Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation, they are already invited by ICH, and they started to implement the CTD and eCTD submissions. And for GCC region, most of the Gulf countries nowadays are obligatory to submit. You are obliged to submit the eCTD format in order to start the registration of your product, except one country, which is Kuwait, which is still following the NeeS format. As well, for the Pan-American Network for Drug Regulatory Harmonization, they were invited by ICH in order to start the application of CTD NeeS and eCTD. And the same is applied to the Southern African Development Community. They started implementing the submission of CTD and eCTD and NeeS in their representative health authorities. The same is applied to the East African community, including Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi. They started the communication with NeeS and eCTD. You can see in this slide that for the African countries, most of the African countries started the implementation of the CTD. Some of them now are trying to implement the NeeS, and some already applying the eCTD submission as an obligatory structure format to be submitted for the health authority. In the following slides, we can see the cases of CTD modules. Once we will submit our 5 modules to the health authority, we are obliged to submit all the 5 modules from Module 1 to Module 5 for the new chemical entity and for biological and biosimilars products. While for the generics products, we will submit some sections or some modules without any included information, like module 4, which is not submitted to the generic products. And in this case, we will not delete module 4, and we will keep all these sections as it is without deleting anything from the structure, but we will explain that our product is a generic product for the innovator product. So we are not required to submit module 4 non-clinical information as we are a generic submission. In the following slide, we will see an overview for the common global module 1 sections. Most of the health authorities request in our submission in the module 1 regional administrative information to submit a cover letter to explain what is the trade name of our proposed products to be registered, and what is the concentration and dosage form, who is the marketing authorization holder, who is the manufacturing site. As well, we have to submit the application form of the health authority, which is already included in the website of each health authority according to their format and according to their requested information to be included and to be attached with this application form. All the health authorities request to submit in module 1 in the product information. The product information covers several data. Cover the SMPC, summary of product characteristics, which is already addressed to the healthcare professional, and we have to submit the labeling data and the patient information data, which is already addressed to the patient with a simple wording, and to submit a mockups for our artwork, which will be used in the final design of our product. As well, we have to submit some certificates according to the regulation of each health authority. We can be requested to submit the price certificate and the certificate of pharmaceutical products (CPP) and the GMP certificate and COS, and the letter of access, which is related to the drug master file and the alcohol and pork-free declarations. And as well, we can submit several certificates of analysis like a COA of active ingredients and finished product. Some of health authorities request in Module 1 to submit the environmental risk assessment and the pharmacovigilance system data and the information on the experts related to the quality person responsible for the revision and approval of the quality information, and the same is applied for the non-clinical and clinical information. We shall submit the information of the expert of each of them. We can see in this slide the template of the CPP. The template of CPP is according to the WHO format, and it includes some specific data like the trade name and the dosage form of the product, and what is the active ingredient, and what is the used amount and quantity of per unit dose. And we will state as well the list of excipients with their quantities, which will be used in our composition formula. And as well, it is requested to state in the CPP what is the status of our product, whether it is registered or not in the country of origin. And we have to state if the product is already registered, what is the product registration number and who is the marketing authorization holder, what are the manufacturing sites involved in the production process, and we have to state whether these manufacturing process are regularly inspected by the health authorities in the country of origin or not. And we can attach several information as included in the format of WHO. We have to respond and to reply to each question or each point represented on this template. As well, as we said that in Module 1, most of the health authorities request to submit the SMPC, the summary of product characteristics, and to submit the labeling and to submit the patient information leaflet. Already there is a template for the product information data, which includes the data which shall be submitted in the SMPC and to be submitted in the labeling information and to be submitted in the patient information leaflet. We have to take in our consideration that maybe it is requested to translate the product information according to the desired language or the used first language of each health authority. So that means the main language will be English, but we may need to translate these data to the first language used in the country which we are exporting to it, and we would like to register our product. And we have to fill all these templates with the appropriate data according to our medicinal products which will be registered in the health authority which we are applying our submissions. In the following slides, we will have an overview for Module 2, Module 3, Module 4 and 5 as well, and the table of contents of each module. As we said, Module 2 is a summary and overview data. So that means we have to submit a summary and overview for the Module 3 in section 2.3, which is the quality overall summary. And in section 2.4, we will submit non-clinical overview. And for 2.5, we will submit clinical overview. And 2.6, we will submit a summary for Module 4, which is the non-clinical written tabulated summaries. And 2.7 will be the clinical summary of Module 5. And we have to follow up the ICH requirements, and we have to fill each of these sections and all of their related subsections as stated in the ICH requirements. Module 3 is composed of two main parts. Module 3 is the quality module, and the first part is the drug substance, which is the active ingredient, and we have to fill this part with all the requested subsections included under the section 3.2s part. And the other information which will be included in Module 3 is the 3.2p drug product information. And in this information, we have to include all the technical and quality information related to our final finished product. As well, it is requested in Module 3 in some health authorities to submit a specific regional information. And we can reach this information and reach this requested data from the website of each health authority. They are specifying what are the requested regional information. Module 3 is named CMC module as it covers the chemistry manufacturing controls data. We have to use the same sequence and the numbering style in each submission we submit to all the global health authorities. So that means we will start with the first section, which is 3.1, the table of contents, and then it will be followed by the section 3.2s drug substance, and then 3.2p drug product. And if there is any section for the drug product, the regional information, it will be 3.2r, and the section 3.2a, which is the appendix information. In this slide, we will see a summary for the table, including the information will be enclosed under the section 3.2s drug substance and 3.2p drug product information. As we can see in this table, for the drug substance information, we submit 7 subsections. The first subsection is 3.2s1. In this section, we will submit a general information for our active ingredient. And for the second section, which is 3.2s2, we will submit all the information related to all the manufacturing sites involved in the manufacturing process of the active ingredient. And the third subsection is the characterization 3.2s3. We will submit all the information related to the impurities and to the identification of the active ingredients and the related information to the impurities. The fourth section is the product control. We will submit all the information related to the quality control specification, method of analysis, analytical validation of our active ingredient. In the fifth section, 3.2s5 will represent the reference standard information. 3.2s6 will represent the container closure packaging information, including the specification and the method of analysis used to identify the packaging used materials. The last section under the 3.2s section is the stability information. In this section, we will represent all the stability data performed for our active ingredient and their relative stability results. While for the drug product, we have to include 8 subsections. The first one is 3.2p1, which includes description and composition of our final finished product. 3.2p2 will include the pharmaceutical development data. And 3.2p3 will include all the data related to the manufacturing sites involved in the production process of our final finished product. And the section 3.2p4 includes all the information related to the excipients, covering the specification and covering the analytical procedures of these excipients. And if we have any animal or pork source. We have to specify what is the source of these excipients used in the production of our product. For section 32P5, we have to include the specification and the analytical method and the validation of our final finished product, while for the section 32P6, we will include the reference standard information in this section, and 32P7, we will include all the packaging material information covering the specification and the analytical method of all the used packaging material, whether it is the primary packaging material, which is in contact with the drug product, or the secondary packaging material, which is not in direct contact with the final finished product, like the leaflet and the outer carton books. As well, we have to represent in the section 32P8 the stability data information for our final finished product. Module 4, which is the non-clinical study reports, we have to include in Module 4 in the first section 4.1 the table of contents, and 4.2 the study reports, and 4.3 the literature references. Under the study reports, we will include several subsections which will cover all the performing non-clinical studies for our product. For Module 5, which is the clinical study reports, we have to represent in 5.1 the table of contents. Then we have to represent the tabular listing of all our clinical performance studies. The clinical study reports will be included in section 5.3, and for 5.4 we will include all the literature references which we refer in our submission related to the clinical study data. In the following slide, we will see what is the eCTD criteria and advantages. So let's start with the definition of the eCTD. eCTD is an interface for industry to agency transfer of regulatory information. So that means it is a tool which we use in order to publish and submit our compiled dossier to the health authority in order to start the evaluation of the submitted documentation. eCTD is composed of directory structure and content files, and as well XML eCTD instance. The advantages of eCTD. eCTD will help us to navigate and to view easily the total structure of the dossier, and faster access to all the sections and modules included in this dossier, and will have a life cycle management from the initial submission of our first submitted dossier till the final sequence which we will submit to the health authority until we grant our marketing authorization. And from the advantages of eCTD is the reusability. We can reuse the submitted dossier for X health authority as to be submitted for Y health authority with little modifications in Module 1, as we said, and in the regional information included in Module 3. As well, from the advantages of eCTD is less paper and decrease the total costs. From the criteria of the eCTD, one of these criteria is the granularity structure and the used PDFs and hyperlinks, and it requires tools and trained technical experts in order to manage the submission and the publishing process of the submitted dossier. As well, from the criteria of eCTD is different implementation approach, and regional rules vary from each health authority. In the following slides, we will see what is the criteria and creation of NeeS and eCTD. In order to start creating our NeeS or eCTD submission, we have to create 5 folders. The first folder will be named M1, and the second M2, and then M3, M4, and M5. For the NeeS submission, we have to include the table of contents as a PDF file in the main folder. So that means the final structure of the our NeeS or eCTD will be 5 folders. The first will be M1, then M2, M3, M4, M5, and we will include the table of contents in a PDF file in our NeeS submission only. In this slide, we will see how we can name our folders in Module 1. According to ICH regulations, we have to use abbreviations in our naming for the folder name. This is an example for module 1 structure, which will be submitted to the GCC region. And in this screenshot, you can see how the folder named for GCC submission. And in this slide, you can see a screenshot for module 2. And the same is applied for module 3 and module 4 and module 5. As we said, we have to use the stated naming information for the folders according to ICH guidelines, and we have to follow up these guidelines in the naming of our folders and use these abbreviations in the names of our folders. In this slide, you will have a screenshot for the folder structure of module 3, and this for the module 4 folder structure, while this slide includes a screenshot for the folder structure of module 5. What are the advantages of EXTEDO eCTD Manager? It will support publication of submissions in structures and format for all regions of the world. It will conform to ICH and regional file names, as we said, that we have to follow up the folder and file names regulations of ICH, and for each regional submission, we have to follow up module 1 and the regional section in the module 3. Rapid compliance with the latest regulatory changes worldwide and ability to validate and publish submissions from a single application, sophisticated management of hyperlinks and bookmarks. And from the additional benefits, EXTEDO provides eCTD templates, which will minimize the time to be used to create these templates, and it will focus on global guidance and format standards such as those issued by ICH and adopted by the US FDA and EMA. EURES validator is used by over 35 authorities worldwide, including EMA, to ensure eCTD and NeeS compliance. In this slide, there are some references for the represented data in this presentation. I hope that the information which we represent in this presentation is benefit for all, and thank you.